If you look at academia, the academics who are in the major institutions in the United States, let's say you look at Harvard, Yale, MIT, all these places, Stanford, etc., academics have something called tenure. When they go through an educational process, let's say they get their PhDs and so on, they get tenure. A number of these people maintain tenure, and with that tenure, they essentially get a carte blanche to write up anything that they want, theories, ideas, narratives. One wing of the swarm, the billionaires, give these people quite a bit of money to write up publications and narratives. So the academics, the Brahmins, the priesthood, writes up papers, quote unquote scientific papers. Those scientific papers become the quote unquote truth that the rest of the swarm uses to justify all their malevolence. One of the key things I would do is, among academia, we would eliminate tenure. Tenure is where an academic essentially is allowed to stay as a professor and get paid for the rest of their lives, even though they don't do any work. Most academic institutions receive federal funding. So we as a people, we the people have rights to have some say in those institutions. So any institution that is getting federal funding, tenure would end immediately, which means that if you've already been there in one of these federally funded institutions and you've been there 7 years, you have to get the fuck out and you have to go get a job. That's the first thing. The second thing as a part of this is, we know just 6 weeks ago, news came out that a bunch of researchers at the Harvard affiliated Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, 4 or 5 researchers that just made up fake data to get more funding, and nothing will happen to them. There's no crime to faking data and writing up fake papers. One of the things that I would do immediately is anyone who has been proven to have fake papers, again with federal funding, and write fake papers which manipulated science, should all get a 22-year sentence in prison. For example, 16 years ago, and this came out about 3 months ago, a professor at the University of Minnesota made up bogus data 16 years ago on Alzheimer's, literally photoshopped Western blot images, which misled the entire research industry for nearly 16 years. $3.7 billion in funding went into the whole Alzheimer's space because of his bogus research. He still probably has his house in Martha's Vineyard and he's allowed to continue. That guy should be thrown in prison. So you would eliminate tenure. Now people are not going into academia to get a job for life. They're going into academia to actually do good research, and then they have to leave. And then those people who do bad research are going to be treated like criminals and thrown in federal prison. So we're going to let out all the people who are falsely accused, and we're going to put the people who should be in prison. We need to build a bottoms-up movement. Go to shivaforpresident.com and volunteer.